Okay, this is 3.2b of geometry. So Theorem 3.3, I wouldn't write that whole paragraph. It basically says if the lines are parallel, then alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay, so we want to find the measure of angle 3 and angle 4. If it helps you, you can draw out a pair of parallel lines and one transversal. So if I take this guy, this one is 105, this is 4, this is 6, this is 7, and that's all I know from it. And I need to find the measure of angle 3 and angle 4. So I have angle 4 in this one. This right here is my interior, my exterior, my exterior. So 4 and 105, that's the angle measure, 105, are both in the interior, and they're on the same side of the transversal. They're above this line here. So these are same side interior angles. And I know that same side interior angles add up to 180. So the measure of angle 4 plus 105 is equal to 180. Then I can solve for the measure of angle 4. I'll subtract 105 from both sides. I'm right in between the words. And I get that the measure of angle 4 is equal to 75 degrees. So I can stick that in my picture. Oops. If I've got a little bit of room up here. Draw these two parallel lines and take this transversal, that gives me angle 3, angle 105, and angle 7. Measure 105. Again, here's my interior, exterior, exterior. So 105 and 3 are both in the interior, but they're on opposite sides of the transversal. So these are alternate interior angles, and alternate interior angles are congruent. So I know that the measure of angle 3 is equal to 105. So let me mark this in my picture. 3 is 105, and 4 is 75. I think the easiest way now to figure out more angles is to start with vertical angles. So 5 and 105 are vertical angles. So the measure of angle 5 is 105. Right here, 105 and 7 are vertical angles, so 7 is 105. Remember, vertical angles are congruent. If I look up here to angle 2 and angle 5, which I said angle 5 is 105 degrees, those are same side interior angles. So the measure of angle 2 plus 105 equals 180. So the measure of angle 2 is 75 degrees. So 75. Again, I can use vertical angles with angle 1 and angle 2, which we said was 75. So the measure of angle 1 is 75. A few of these, there's multiple different ways to get them. So if I look at angle 8, these guys here are same side interior angles, so I know they add up to 180. Or I can look at angle 8 and angle 5 because those are alternate interior angles, and I know alternate interior angles are congruent. So this is 105. I could have also gone this route with same side interior angles and I would have gotten the same answer. And then I can, for angle 6 down here, I can either look at alternate interior angles right there, or I could look at these guys. These guys here are corresponding. For all of these angles, there's many different ways that you could figure them out. But either alternate interior angles or corresponding, this would be 105. I know I went through this pretty quickly, so if you have questions, either rewatch it or ask me questions when you come back to class. Okay, so if we look at their picture here, I'm just going to take the parallel lines and this transversal. So this is 80, but what is this angle? Well, if I look over here, this angle is made up by two angles. I have this angle that's 40 and this angle that is y. I know that the part plus the part equals the whole. So then this angle is 40 plus y. And these guys are parallel angles. These two angles are in the interior and they're on the same side. So these are same side interior angles, which means they add up to 180. So 40 plus y plus 80 equals 180. 40 plus 80 gives me 120 plus y equals 180. And if I subtract 120 from both sides, I get y equals 60. Okay, now let's look at this got it problem. To make things simpler, I would take the parallel lines and a transversal. So this is 3y, and this is y plus 20. And if I take the other transversal, this is 2x, and this is x minus 12. Each of these, let's start with this one. They're both in the interior. And if I look at my left picture there, they're on the same side of the transversal. So I know they add up to 180. 2x plus x minus 12 equals 180. If there's no number in front of the variable, there's an invisible 1. 2x plus 1x gives me 3x. So I have 3x minus 12 equals 180. And then I can add 12 to both sides. Oops. That cancels off. I get 3x equals 192. And then when I divide by 3, I get x is equal to 64. Then I'm going to do the same thing with my other picture for y. Not that I really have room for it. I'm going to erase some of my work up here. So we've got room for this. Okay, so same thing. They're interior angles and they're on the same side of the transversal. So they're same side interior angles, which means they add up to 180 degrees. So 3y plus y plus 20 equals 180. There's no number in front, it's just a 1. 3y plus 1y equals 4y. 4y plus 20 equals 180. I'll subtract 20 from both sides. I get 4y is equal to 160. And if I divide by 4, I get y equals 40. And then I can plug back in to solve for each of my angles. 3 times 40 gives me 120 degrees. 40 plus 20 gives me 60 degrees. And that's good because they add up to 180. Want to double check that. My x was 64. 2 times 64 gives me 128. And 64 minus 12 gives me 52. If I double check, that adds up to 180. And there we go. There's your homework.